To outsiders, the Beastmen of the Old World are a monolith of stinking fury, unified by their desire to tear down the works of civilization, brick by brick. A gore hailing from the Middle Mountains may as well come from the Drakwald as far as a beleaguered halberdier is concerned, and he's not entirely wrong, but by the same token, neither is he completely right either. While all Old World Beastmen subspecies follow the same basic body plans, combining the worst traits of men and livestock, the beasts of the forest are as culturally diverse as the men of the fields. As such, each region of the Old World boasts their own, unique Beastmen tribes. Understanding the difference between them can inform a general's tactics when fighting the Children of Chaos, and that can be the difference between returning victorious or disappearing into the bellies of the beasts. We begin our tour in the Central Empire. The Drakwald is one of the most notorious Beastmen strongholds in the entirety of the Old World. The Children of Chaos have menaced the people of Middenland for thousands of years, and their activities have shaped the history of the region. Despite this fame, the Gores of the Drakwald don't look like most Beastmen. Their forms ripple with mutations, and they are among the most mutated creatures in the entire Warhammer world. The Shamans claim that the beasts of the Drakwald are infused with the essence of the Chaos Gods, blessed beyond other Beastmen. Whether or not that is true, the thick veins of warpstone running beneath the forest floor are at least partially to blame for this wealth of mutation as well. For some Gores, these chaotic gifts prove to be too much to bear. Weak or unfortunate Beastmen collapse beneath the weight of their mutations, devolving into twisted abominations. This happens with alarming frequency, and the Drakwald is home to a great number of chaos spawn that were once mighty beast lords or sinister bray shamans. These degenerate monsters emerge from forgotten caves and moss-covered ruins when the bray herds gather, eager to consume the flesh of men once more. One Drakwald tribe in particular has embraced the land's affinity for chaos spawn. The Skrinderkin herd is infamous throughout the forest for unleashing hordes of chaos spawn upon their enemies. The creature's bladed limbs can run a man through, and their slack-jawed bellows are supernaturally unnerving. The creatures obviously hail from the tribe, as they have similar skin, fur, and horn coloration to the tribe's Gores. Indeed, if one knows where to look, there's evidence of their past roles within the herd. One spawn bears a tattered banner, its rotten haft fused with the twisted remains of the creature's fist. In its previous life, the Chaos Spawn would have been the chieftain's personal banner-bearer, but any trace of its former mind has been obliterated by its descent into spawndom. Even the herds that don't wholeheartedly embrace the Drakwald's spawn are touched by chaos, even more so than common beastmen. Their bestigors sprout the most impressive horns, and their warhounds have unusually prominent fangs. These creatures have wrought incalculable tragedies upon the people of the Central Empire. The imperial province of Drakwald succumbed to their cruel mercies over 1,000 years ago, and they perpetually menace the people of Middenland. Sigmar's descendants try to repel the beasts, sending out nightly orders, state troopers, and motivated volunteers to thin the herds out on a regular basis. The results are mixed. For every patrol or army that emerges victorious from the forest, another is swallowed up by its gloom. The men of the Empire aren't the Beastmen's only competitors in the Drakwald, however. The abundance of warpstone in the region has drawn countless Skaven clans, and the two foul races come into conflict on a regular basis. Some herds, like that of Gora's Burrow Gouger, specialize in killing Skaven. Burrow Gouger's favorite tactic is to unleash a pack of starved Chaos Warhounds into the Ratmen's warrens. When the cowardly Skaven flee from their dens in terror, they are greeted at the exit by the herd's bestigors. Once Goraz is convinced that no more Skaven can be driven out of their holes, he'll collapse the tunnel and bring several tons of rubble down upon their heads. The battles between the Drakwald's Beastmen and Skaven have become legendary. According to the Bray Shamans, the two factions hated each other from first contact, and for good reason. At the height of a great ritual to the Chaos Gods, the Skaven tore down one of the Beastmen's most profane herdstones at a chasm known as the Place of Blood. This was an unintended byproduct of the Skaven's mining operation, as the stone sat upon a massive warpstone deposit, but the incident earned the Beastmen's eternal hatred nonetheless. Whole tribes of the monsters ascended into the bowels of the earth to avenge this slight, butchering clan rats, storm vermin, greyseers, and warlords with savage glee. The war lasted for a full year, and few beastmen who entered emerged once more, but the Skaven were thoroughly beaten. To this day, they have never approached the place of blood again. The beastmen have not forgotten or forgiven the initial offense, however, and when Morsley burns in the night sky, the herds will gather once more at the place of blood. The shamans will retell this story to the gathered tribes, fueling the embers of rage and resentment within the beastmen's hearts. At the zenith of the story, the beastmen gather their weapons and charge once more into the chasm, seeking to reenact the carnage unleashed by their distant ancestors. Far to the north of the Drakwald, encompassing most of Ostland and Nordland, lies the Forest of Shadows. This brooding woodland has earned an ominous reputation throughout the Empire for the bandits, chaos warbands, and necromancers lurking beneath its branches. It's also home to the largest concentration of minotaurs in the Old World. There are entire herds of the bloodthirsty beasts roaming the woods, led by immensely powerful doom bulls. Proper gores are rare here, as few of these less powerful beastmen can rise through the ranks of a herd in the face of such monstrous opposition. Ungors, however, delight in following the Minotaurs. They have no hope of advancement in most beastmen tribes anyway, so the greater strength Minotaurs provide is a welcome boon. The lesser beastmen scout ahead of the brutes, harassing their enemies and attempting to draw them out of position. When an impetuous band of warriors attempts to silence the jeering beasts, the Ungors retreat towards the waiting jaws of the Minotaurs. When the Beastmen of the Forest of Shadows go to war, Minotaurs and Ungors aren't the only creatures to answer the Doom Bull's call. The skies fill with cackling harpies, snorting razor gores charge from the woods, and monstrous gorgons stumble forth to feast upon flesh. The Doom Bull's blood greed is infectious, filling those caught up in its wake with an instinctive, savage fury. Even the scant few gores in the forest answer the call, their sense of self-preservation washed away beneath an endless tide of rage. Villages, towns, state troop encampments, the chapter houses of knightly orders, none within the Forest of Shadows are safe from the Doom Bull's fury. Turning our gaze once more to the south, the forests of Reichland boast more beastmen than anywhere else in the Empire. The tribes of the Reichwald, as the forest is known, are exceptionally virile and replenish their numbers far faster than other beastmen. This dense population has created plenty of intertribal conflict as the beastmen battle for territory and hunting rights. If one walks through the forest, the air is filled with the sounds of battle as the beasts fight amongst themselves. Ungors are particularly common among these tribes, and entire herds of these lesser creatures dwell within the Reichwald. Many of them are born directly into the herds, but a surprising number are born to human parents. Unable to kill their own flesh and blood, no matter how mutated they are, many parents merely abandon the future beastmen in the forest. These exiles often dominate the Ungor tribes, their bitterness and rage granting them the strength needed to take what is theirs. Ungor tribes often mimic the ferocity of their leader, compensating for their weakness with unending wells of hate. Woe to any village that finds itself in the clutches of such a herd, as the Ungors delight in torture beyond that of their bigger brethren. The Ungor tribes are not the only beastmen to menace Reichland. Between Altdorf and Marienburg, the dense forests give way to open wastelands, nearly devoid of game. Chariot-mounted beastmen roam these wastes, patrolling hundreds of miles for food. They make the overland route between the two great cities dangerous, as entire armies have found themselves cut off, surrounded, and destroyed by these chariot armies. The lucky ones die beneath spoked wheels and rusted blades. The unlucky ones are captured and dragged to the beastmen's herdstones to be sacrificed to the dark gods. While the Reichwald boasts the most beastmen in the Old World, the Middle Mountains are nearly as populated. Vast armies of gores and ungors pour from its foothills, inflicting misery upon the people of Hochland and Ostland on a regular basis. They are often accompanied by large contingents of centaurs, as the cumbersome beasts prefer the lightly wooded lands of the north to the dense forests of the Drakwald. While centaurs aren't technically part of the Grey Herd, commerce will oftentimes bring the two people together, to the point where only scholars would appreciate the difference. Centaurs possess brutish, clumsy hands, incapable of the fine manipulation required to build weapons or ferment ale. Cunning beastmen will provide the centaurs with these goods, and in return, the four-legged brutes will pledge their sword arms to the Grey Herd's cause. This gives the beastmen an almost unheard of level of mobility for a Grey Herd, letting them outmaneuver their human opponents in open plains as easily as in dense forests. Centaurs aren't the only bestial creatures to fight alongside the beastmen of the Middle Mountains. The region's tribes are renowned for capturing and harnessing the beasts of the forest, unleashing tusk gores, razor gores, and even fearsome jabberslythes upon the men of the Northern Empire. Many shield walls have thought themselves secure against the frothing horde of beastmen, only to shatter when the beastmen chariots plow through them like a field of grass. This is a time-honored martial tradition among the Middle Mountains beastmen, dating back to the days of Gorthor the Beast Lord. Gorthor was the greatest beast lord to ever menace the Empire, almost destroying the provinces of Hochland and Ostland a millennia ago. He preferred to fight from chariot back, and his best warriors formed a swift, elite corps of chariot soldiers. Even though Gorthor died 1,000 years ago, his former tribe retains his practice, and are renowned for their skill with chariots. Yet some tribes are even more closely tied to the beasts of the forest than they. The Jagged Horn tribe in particular has made a name for itself in this regard, directly riding the monsters under their command. This is incredibly dangerous, as no razor gore or tusk gore could be considered tame by any means. Most beastmen instead follow in Gorthor's footsteps, using safer methods like chariots to harness the titanic strength of these forest creatures. The Jagged Horn tribe, however, has so successfully broken their will that the monstrous swine will bear the beastmen upon their backs willingly. Of course, the gores will dismount before the battle begins. In the heat of conflict, not even these beastmen can control a razor gore. Interestingly, this makes the Jagged Horn tribe one of the first factions in the Old World to utilize the concept of a dragoon, or a mounted warrior who then dismounts to fight on foot upon reaching the battlefield. Of course, other beastmen tribes will also harness forest monsters to destroy the world of men. In fair Bretonnia, Bray shamans have become quite skilled at summoning gorgons and cygors to their banner. These behemoths are common in the Forest of Arden, and are often used as living siege weapons against castle walls. When even these brutes fail to be enough, gores will steal forth in the dead of night to attach a ram-horn skull to the fortress's gates. When dawn comes, the tribe's shamans will then call forth a living ram horn. The short-sighted and territorial monster, mistaking the skull for a living rival, will charge it with stone-shattering force. No Bretonian gate can hope to withstand such an assault. As the gate bursts into kindling beneath the ram horn's fury, a horde of frenzied beastmen will rush into the gap, glutting themselves upon the flesh of lords and peasants alike. Fortunately, the process of calling a ram horn is difficult, and few shamans are skilled enough to attract one of the brutes. If the ritual was simpler, the Bray herds may have overrun Bretonnia ages ago. The gores of the Forest of Arden are nearly as monstrous as their titanic servants. Having fed upon a rich diet of Bretonian knight and luckless peasant, the beasts have become bigger than gores elsewhere in the world. Indeed, the Forest of Arden has the dubious honor of possessing a disproportionate number of bestigores within its depths. Curiously, the Beastmen of Bretonnia seem to have unconsciously taken to mimicking their human foes. They seek out and challenge the mightiest opponents in an enemy army to single combat, seeking to prove their might before the dark gods. Some have even taken to wearing Bretonian symbols and banners, mocking everything the knights hold dear and goading them into foolish engagements. Even when the Brayherds aren't actively battling Bretonians, they fight amongst themselves. These are not the honorable duels so common in Bretonnia, however. Instead, the gores tear into each other with tooth and horn, attempting to cripple their rival before delivering the killing blow. This keeps the Beastmen of Bretonnia in fighting shape, and the results have been telling. They have seen more success than all but the most powerful beast lords in the Empire, and the realm of the Lady has suffered greatly beneath their predations. The last great bastion of Beastmen activity in the Old World can be found to the south of the Empire, around the Black Mountains. A great forest winds through the peaks, 1,000 miles wide. Known as the Black Deeps, it is an ancient and sinister forest, and even the Beastmen fear to tread in its wildest corners. Here, the children of chaos are the prey, not the predators. This is because the Black Deeps are home to some of the largest spiders in the Old World. These arachnids are big enough to capture and eat minotaurs, and the Beastmen have had to adapt in response. This adaptation can take many forms. The warherd of the Shadowgore, for instance, has developed limited venom immunity and dark fur to blend in with the forest gloom. They've also taken to using gigantic spider legs as spears, dipping them in poison made from spider blood and Bray Shaman curses. Of course, where there are giant spiders, there are forest goblins. The battles between the Gores and Goblins are epic, and nowhere else do the Beastmen harbor such a deep and lasting contempt for greenskins. With that, we have covered the Beastmen strongholds across the Old World. This is a follow-up to a video I did nearly a year ago, which detailed the varieties of Beastmen elsewhere in the setting. I waited on making this video for quite a while because I initially wanted to have several miniatures on hand to demonstrate the physical differences between the various tribes, but ultimately time and monetary constraints made that seem unlikely. Also, after creating this video, I don't think there's actually enough physical variation between these Beastmen tribes for my miniature painting skills to drive the point home. All of them are different, yes, but I can't just paint an extra 6 inches onto the Gores from the Forest of Arden, you know? Still, I hope you like this video. I think examining these slight differences within a faction that isn't known for having a diverse culture is fascinating, and also a great place to get started with making another lore-accurate army video. I've currently got one of those in the works, covering a few of the subjects of this video, so if that interests you, keep your eyes peeled for it in the upcoming weeks and months. That's all I have for today though, so until next time, this has been Sigmar's Chosen, signing off for now.